Hey guys! Welcome to the PlanTito channel and I'm your PlanTito Earl. And today, may tanong tayo na gusto nating sagutin which I'm pretty sure ito rin ang tanong nyo sa utak nyo ngayon. And that question is, bakit ang mahal ng mga halaman ngayon? Now, that's a very controversial question maybe you could say. So I'll try to answer it na as objectively and as fairly as possible. I may have some opinions on these things every once in a while, but again, I'll try to be or subukan ko na mas maging fair, objective, and reasonable as possible. So, let's get it started. So yun, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome to the PlanTito Earl channel where we talk anything and everything about plants. And I'm your PlanTito Earl. So yun nga, today we're going to try and answer a very controversial question na I'm sure natanong mo na rin sa sarili mo at some point, especially these past few days. Or before we answer that question, gagawin ko muna yung mandatory invite. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, if you do, hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications. If you have comments or if you want to have a discussion on this question actually, or if you have answers sa question natin today, please let me know sa comment section below. I'd be glad to hear them out. And also follow me on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. And of course, most importantly, thank you so much for watching today's video and thank you for those returning viewers. Maraming salamat po. So yun, so let's get started with our question. Di na tayo magpapatumpik-tumpik pa kasi these past few weeks kasi sa plant community, lalo na dito sa Pilipinas, there have been a couple of, I must say, issues, I guess, that have rocked the plant community. Hindi naman sila tipong magsa-start na ng World War III or anything like that. Since the plant community in the Philippines has been growing quite fast, hindi may iwasan that there will be issues here and there. And one of the main issues that has an impact on the plant community the most is the pricing of plants. And recently nga, people have been saying, I myself included, plants are starting to get overpriced. One of the major issues dito with regards to this is that the government issued or the government released a statement, I forget if it was DTI or something, na gusto nilang i-regulate yung price ng plants and magpataw ng tax on it. Now personally, I want to save my opinions about this panukala ng government only because hindi pa naman siya fully implemented and isinasabatas pa nila. I want to believe they're still drafting out kung ano yung mga isasaad nila sa regulation na to, how they will regulate it, and then also on the tax part, kung how much yung magiging tax and all that. So I want to save my opinions first until I see yung full regulation in place. Honestly, at this point, if it actually helps in properly, and if it's implemented properly, if it really helps in, making sure that plants are not overpriced, I'm all for it. That's why we're trying to answer that question na bakit ang mahal na ng mga halaman ngayon. My point of reference in this case, the first plants that I ever bought were more than a year ago from Quezon Memorial Circle. And sila yung isa-cite ko na example kung bakit ko masasabi na mas mahal yung presyo ng plants ngayon. And you may have different experiences with pricing, but pero ito yung naging experience ko. Yung first few plants na binili ko were pothos and snake plants. And I actually have one of them here. I'll show you. This is my golden pothos. This started out as a pot na may 2 to 3 rooted cuttings. And I bought it from Quezon Memorial Circle from one of the sellers there, 3 for 100 pesos. Pero ngayon, when you compare to the prices, kung pupunta ka ulit ng Quezon Memorial Circle, yun, establish ko lang yung price point natin dito, or yung price reference natin is Quezon Memorial Circle a year ago versus today. I went to Quezon Memorial Circle last couple of days ago. Nagtanong ulit ako kung magkano yung golden pothos nila. Same thing, 2 to 3 rooted cuttings. May nakita ko 75 pesos, isang pot. May nakita ko 100 pesos, isang pot for golden pothos. So that's almost times 3 compared to how much I got it before. Same story with snake plants. I bought it 3 for 100 then. 3 as in tatlong big kiss or tatlong stalks which has about 2 to 3 leaves. 3 for 100. And ngayon, nagtanong ako, isang stalk is about 100 to 150 pesos. Again, times 3 or even times 5 ng rate niya from how much I bought it before. So, that's our definition kung bakit natin masasabi na mas mahal ngayon as compared to before. So what we want to do now is answer that question objectively. And I am a marketing guy nga pala. I forgot to mention that I'm not an expert with plants. All the things I know about plants are based on my personal experience and research as I take care of my plants. But the business or maybe the economic side of it, I'm a little more confident kasi I'm a marketing guy. On a daily basis, these economic principles that I will be discussing today to explain bakit mas mahal na ngayon, mas confident ako about my knowledge in that. Not an expert marketer, but at least I know about it. So yun, so the main driving principle dito sa overpricing problem that we've been having is the law of supply and demand. Just a refresher for some of you, this is actually two parts. This is two laws interacting with each other. Let's start with the law of supply. Now this actually applies more to the sellers of plants. So what the law of supply says is that the higher prices are for a certain product, or in this case, for a certain plant, the seller or the supplier is more likely to provide higher supply kasi that way, they're able to earn more. So as a supplier, since you want to earn more naman, edi mas isusupply mo yung higher priced item. Meanwhile, si law of demand, on the other hand, is hindi siya ganun. Medyo mas indirect yung correlation niya. Si law of supply is direct. So meaning if one goes up, the other goes up. So it goes the other way din. Meanwhile, si law of demand, pag tumaas yung price, na this applies more to the buyer, pag tumaas yung price ng certain plant, mas bababa yung demand niya. Kasi syempre, as a buyer, gusto mo namang makamura as much as possible. You want to maximize yung mabibili ng pera mo. Ang naging weird thing is, tumaas ang demand heavily because people are now more able to take care of plants. They've taken more interest in plants. I'll explain that a little more later. Tumaas yung demand, however, tumaas din yung price because the supplier is trying to earn more from the demand that is so high at this point. Biglang naging direct correlation si law of demand, which shouldn't be the case. On the seller side, tumaas yung price, but then medyo mas bumaba yung supply kasi nga mas sobrang dami na ng binibili na plants, so some suppliers are not able to keep up with the demand. Kaya biglang nagkanaleche-leche yung law of supply and demand. Sobrang layo nila from what's called as the equilibrium, wherein it's the ideal balance between the supply and the demand, wherein the seller is able to provide the supply and earn enough from it. Si buyer naman is able to fulfill their demand at the lowest possible price. So medyo nawala siya sa equilibrium, kaya medyo nagkaganon ngayon. So let's start with the law of supply. On the seller part, one problem ngayon is the supply chain. Now there are two types of sellers. There's the seller who is also a supplier, meaning they have a direct supply of the plants that they are selling. Meanwhile, there's the second type, the sellers who are reliant on other suppliers, meaning they're not the ones who are growing their own plants or the plants that they are selling. They are reliant on the suppliers. So let's start with the first one, sellers who are also suppliers. They have full control of their pricing. Yun yung advantage nila. Sila yung nag-grow ng sarili nilang plants, sila yung sa kanila nagagaling mismo. So they are very much able to control yung prices nila. So kaya nila to keep it down. One perfect example of that is if you've been there sa Green Meadows EFS Gardens. I was able to go there a couple of days ago with my friends. We were able to talk to the owner. Ang minention niya was yung buong area na yon, they're all relatives and they have their own gardens in Bulacan and in Cavite or in Silang, I think, and they also get some imported plants. So they're able to control their supply properly. Kaya reasonably mababa yung prices nila sa EFS as compared to others. Wala na siyang additional layers, meaning kukuha nila sila, as simple as kukuha nila sila from their garden, transport nila to their store in Green Meadows, benta na nila agad. So logistically speaking, mas mura yon. 1 or 2 steps na lang kailangan nila pagdaanan. Meanwhile, the second type of seller who are reliant on suppliers, this is actually a common thing for online sellers. I'm not saying all online sellers follow this model. There are some who are direct suppliers themselves, but most of the online sellers that at least I know of or I get to see on Facebook and on Instagram lalo na, they are reliant on other suppliers, meaning they are not able to grow their own plants or the plants that they sell. Kasi most of them, I'm speaking in terms of those who are based in Metro Manila or in urban areas wherein they don't have the luxury of space to actually have their own garden. Yes, some of them actually do propagations, but that's on a smaller scale. If you want to go mid or higher scale, as a plant seller, it would be best if you have your own big parcel of land, kumbaga, where you can actually grow your plants, have your own garden, and grow as many plants as you want. So, meanwhile, for these online sellers, they're reliant on other suppliers. Minsan pa, those suppliers that they have also have additional suppliers. And it can go on and go on. Kaya madalas, if you notice, mas mahal, I'm not saying overpriced, mas mahal ang pricing ng online sellers. Kasi nga, one, they don't have control of the pricing. Ang supplier nila ang magdidictate kung magkano yung magiging price ng halaman mo. For example, if yung sa pothos natin earlier, if ibebenta ni supplier ni online seller ang golden pothos niya for 100 pesos, hindi naman pwede ibenta ni online seller yun ng 50 or 75 pesos. Luging-lugi na siya doon. Pamigay niya nila yung photos niya, di ba? So, syempre, si seller also has to pay herself and also has to be able to pay for the logistics involved in acquiring the plants. I don't want to say na it's overpriced kasi nga si online seller also has to make a profit in order for that seller to be able to go on with their business. Kasi at the end of the day, it's a business eh. Hindi naman nila pwede ipamigay yung mga halaman nila. Luging-lugi na sila doon. Ano na nakakainin nila, di ba? There's also another aspect of it na there are some plants that are so in high demand but they are imported. That's also another big factor kung bakit nagmamahal yung prices. There are plants that are so in high demand but they're not endemic to us dito sa Pilipinas. Endemic meaning they don't occur naturally in nature. Na tipo pag umakyat ka sa bundok or pumunta ka sa gubat or pumunta ka sa palayan, hindi mo sila makikita na lumalaki doon. Perfect example of that is the Monstera deliciosa, whether it's the normal green form, the albo, the Thai constellation, the aurea, and whatnot. These guys are not endemic to us. Hindi naman sila growing dito sa natin, sa mga gubat natin. They're most likely, like, I want to say, the Monstera that you may have in your home is most likely from another country. I believe Monsteras that get to us here are from Thailand. I see a lot of sellers who are sourcing their monsteras from Thailand. They're also, pero kasi mas endemic sila sa Central and North and South America. So imagine ang layo na ng pinagdaanan ng monstera mo just to get to your home. So don't be surprised bakit ganun kalaki yung price niya. Na it's normal to see a small, like let's say 12 to 15 inch monstera deliciosa in a plastic pot to run for about 4 to 5,000 pesos, and that's not even the variegated versions. Kasi nga it's not endemic to us. We don't have that supply. We don't have that abundant supply. I've yet to hear of a Filipino supplier or Filipino grower ng Monstera. So that's why I expect that imported plants will definitely seem overpriced. Kahit na it's priced reasonably, especially on the seller's part. And then next one naman, or the third aspect of the supply is the supply speed. Remember, plants are not FMCG, or FMCG is fast-moving consumer goods. Ito yung mga mga shampoo, sabon, toothpaste, chichirya, and whatnot. Yung mga tipong kayang mag-produce ng thousands or even millions in a day. Mabagal ang pag-supply ng plants. Yes, there are some plants that are very easy to propagate and supply more of, like for example, si pothos, they're very easy to propagate. In a week's time, kaya mo na mag-produce from one mother plant, kaya mo na mag-produce ng several other plants. But then, most other plants are very slow to grow. Kaya don't expect na sellers or suppliers are able to provide the supply immediately or in order to meet the demand, the high demand that we have right now. And also, gardening or at least growing plants here in the Philippines, hindi pa siya ganun ka-automated. Yes, there are all these technologies being introduced here and there, pero hindi pa siya ganun ka-extensive na in order for us to be able to really supply more plants in the thousands or even in the millions. Kaya that's the limitation ng supply. Yon, yung supply chain, kung saan nanggaling yung supply ng plants ni seller, yung imported supplies or yung imported plants, kaya and then the supply speed. Ngayon naman, in terms of the demand, dito pupunta na tayo sa buyer, which I can personally relate to because I am a buyer. On the demand part or on the buyer's part, there was a big shoot up ng demand because yun nga, of this pandemic, a lot of us are already working from home. I myself included, I'm working from home full-time ngayon. That's why thankfully I'm able to do these vlogs. Kasi bawal kami pumunta ng office, again, for safety reasons. And then, because of that, we were given the gift of time. If you're, let's say, living in Quezon City, tapos sa Makati ka, siguro mga around between 2 to 4 hours yung nabalik sa'yo. So we have a little bit more time to do things that we actually want to do. And one of those things is actually planting. So we try to distract ourselves. I myself would have to say, yun yung isa sa mga main reasons ko for really getting more into plants than I ever was. And then also, it's very relaxing and therapeutic. There's a lot of benefits to it, emotionally and mentally, lalo na. It really clears up your mind, and it's parang may endorphin rush whenever you see your plants thriving under your care. Kaya mas tumaas talaga yung demand because a lot more people are wanting to get that benefit of taking care of plants. Kaya sobrang ang bilis ng growth ng plant community ngayon. I noticed, I have yet to do a study, but if one of you is actually listening, I'd really be interested in one of the plant community groups that I'm part of. I want to see your analytics, just to prove my point na the Filipino plant community is growing really, really fast. But I want evidence of that on Instagram, lalo na sobrang dami lang may plantstagrams, I myself included, which is PlanTito Earl, please follow. Kaya yun yung isa sa mga main things that would really tell you na the Filipino plant community is growing, which is increasing the demand for plants even more. And speaking of social media, yun din. Social media played a big factor in increasing this demand. Kasi nga, especially on Instagram, lalo na, you get to see all of these beautiful plants, really nice foliage. So, syempre, ikaw, as a person, you'd also want to be a part of that. And there's nothing wrong with it naman. Personally, I don't find anything wrong with it. Pero yun nga, ang naging result nun is this heavily increased demand in plants. That's why the prices have shot up. Another question that we'd also want to answer is, how do we remedy this? Now, personally, I don't have concrete step 1, step 2, step 3 that I'd like to recommend to you. Although I do have some ideas that I might want to float, and you may choose to agree or disagree to these because we can't exactly dictate how people behave. We can't exactly tell them so that we can curtail, kumbaga, yung demand or yung very high demand. We can't tell people to huwag kayong bumili ng halaman. That's just wrong. We're in a free country. We're free to do anything that we want to do as long as it's, within legal bounds. Tapos you can't stop people from wanting to buy plants. Kung gusto nila bumili, hayaan nyo sila. That's their choice to make. That's their decision. That's their thing that they want to do. Let them do it. Siguro it's more of the interaction between the buyers and the sellers. The supply and the demand. So let's start with the buyers. If you're planning on buying lots of plants, do your research. Lalo na ngayon, it's so much easier to do your research, to compare prices, lalo na of your plants. Hindi mo na kailangan mag-ikot the entire day sa mga different gardening centers, especially if you want to buy online. Easily, makikita nyo agad yung price. Hanap ka ng within your budget, and then, yun yung bilhin mo. Well, if masyado kang namamahalan, hayaan mo lang. Also consider din yung geography or kung saan galing yung supply mo, because iba-iba yung rates or iba-iba yung presyo ng iba't ibang halaman sa iba't ibang lugar. So ang dami na, that's a mouthful. Metro Manila rates or city rates, definitely mas mahal yan than provincial rates. So try to stick to your budget, or at least try to look for plants that are within your budget for buying plants. And also, speaking of budget, if you can't afford it, either look for something within your budget or don't buy at all. Some buyers, I'm not saying everyone, but there are some who are just, maybe they haven't done enough research. I'm not saying na, I'm not trying to be mapagmataas here. Pero kasi I just noticed that there are some who haven't done enough research na siguro they just looked at 1 or 2 plant stores. bumili sila dun sa isang plant store na for let's say for a plant na worth 500 pesos, and then may nakita sila after buying na same plant 200 pesos. Don't blame that on the seller. Siguro put that blame on yourself for not doing enough research on comparing prices. Tapos magre-resort ka pa to telling that other seller na overpriced ka, ang mahal ng ano mo, dapat dito lang ako bumili, ganun. Again, you have the choice na bumili ka, and you also have the choice to do your research beforehand so that you know na you're buying a plant that's, within your budget, or you're sticking to your budget, para hindi mo masabi na overpriced yung isang seller. Ours is a free market, ours is a capitalist market, so at the end of the day, these plant sellers are businesses, they also have to earn. So on the buyer's part, please don't judge your sellers right away. Try to understand and do your research so that you will avoid saying na a seller is overpriced. Now, onto the seller part naman, in terms of overpricing, there are also some sellers I've noticed, I'm not naming names, but there are some who take advantage of the hype and increased demand. Since they know there will be people who will be buying plants here and there, they would jack up their prices. Don't take advantage of the hype. Kasi that's one of the main roots of this problem, taking advantage, whether it's the seller or the buyer. And lastly, stop making rare happen. Now, this is more of a marketing ploy. Again, I'm a marketing guy, so I know what I'm talking about. If you'll notice, there are some sellers on, let's say, Facebook or Instagram. Immediately on the caption, they say, rare plant. Even if it's, say, perfect example nito, may nakita ko dati, philodendron lemon lime. Lemon lime, yung usual philodendron. It's quite a common plant, actually. A lot of houses, at least within my area, have this. And they brand it as rare. Binenta nila ang small pot for 500 pesos. Whereas when you buy that elsewhere, it can go as low as 50 to 100 pesos per pot. Stop making rare happen. Please also do your research as a seller. Know which of your plants really, truly are rare and deserve that rare price tag. Just so that, again, you can give a fair price. So you're at this point, hindi pa natin alam when this pandemic will end, when this overpricing situation will end. But siguro it will start to subside when, the way I see it, you can agree with me or you can disagree with me, fine with that, is if we, kumbaga, improve the relations or the interactions that we have as buyers and sellers, just so that we can, kumbaga, self-regulate yung pricing natin. We don't want, ayaw naman natin na dumating yung point na it's way beyond control, na everything is just way too expensive, hindi na accessible ang plants for everyone, and that's just being unfair to everyone. So yun, wala mo na akong ngayon, PlanTito jokes. Nahirapan ako magsulat kasi I was trying to focus more on the economic aspects of it, just so that we can truly end it on a proper note. So I hope you were able to, I was able to somehow answer the question that I asked you in the first place, and hopefully you'll be able to understand more why these things are happening, and hopefully with this kind of information we will be able to somehow reduce or somehow try to do away with this pandemic eventually. Hindi na natin maging problem ang overpricing with our plants. So yeah, if you like this video, please do hit the like button only if you do. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, hit the bell for notifications, follow me on socials, and again, I'd love to have a discussion with you, whether on my Facebook or Instagram page or in the comment section down below. So that's it for now. Thank you so much, guys, for spending this time with me, and see you on the next vlog, and have a great day. Bye-bye.